Today we're going to talk about the new DegreeWorks audit that LCTCS is implementing. And we're going to discuss about what the parts of a degree audit are and how to check them to see if they're correct or not. So, in today's training, we're going to look at how do you log into it from the web. We're going to identify the different web functions. We're going to look at how to process a degree audit and how to process a what-if audit and what is the difference between the two. We're going to look at the items you need to review, and we're going to look at our go-live time frame. So let's talk about access to DegreeWorks. Access to DegreeWorks right now is by going to a specific URL for your college and then logging in with your Lola ID number. Usually starts with an N or an L. Some have different letters, H's and B's. But you're going to use that login to get to DegreeWorks until we move it into production. So, first of all, right now, you're going to have, right now we're going to go to a URL that your college will give you. Once you get the URL, you're going to click in there and you're going to use your Lola number or your N number, L number, as both the username and the password. Now when you pull up DegreeWorks, this is the top part of, this is what you're going to see. And the first thing you're going to have to do is find a student to review. You have several options on the way to find students. You can, right here under the student ID, you can click and add their number. When you tab, the name will appear, and then you can press enter and it will pull in the student. It will show you all the stuff that you see at the top. It'll show you the last date that the audit was produced. It'll show you the student classification. It will show the major, and this is the program. The program would be such as AAS-AALT, which would be the AAS for Louisiana transfer. So the first thing, if you do not know your student ID number, then you will click the Find button, and when you click the Find button, then you'll have some search screens come up. So after you click the Find button here, you're going to have these search criteria comes up. You can tell it the program, and when you click on program, you will see that it'll now give you the name of the actual degree. You can choose a major, although you don't really need to. If it's just the one program you're looking for, you don't need to pick the major. It should populate. If you had a major, if you had any concentrations for the, let's say, AALT, then you could drop down and you only wanted to look at the business concentration, you could pull the business concentration. If you only wanted to look at sophomores, you could pull sophomores. I'm sorry, this is academic standing. You could pull if they were in good standing or on probation. You can do the classification, which would be your sophomores or your freshmen, and you can do the catalog term. Now the issue with catalog terms is DegreeWorks is only going to be going from a certain catalog. Some people are using 2018-10, which is the fall of 17. Some people are using the fall of 18. And some are going ahead and using the fall of 19. So you'll have to see when your catalog term starts. This catalog term is going to be the catalog term of the student you are searching for. After you find it, after you fill in this particular search criteria, you're going to hit search, and then it's going to come up with a list of students. So after we click search, notice that we get a notice that says that you found over 200 students with that program. It will not pull in more than 200 students at a time because of performance issues. However, it's not pulling up the first 200 alphabetically. It's not pulling up the first 200 according to their banner IDs. It is just randomly pulling in 200 students. If you went in another few minutes and did another one, it might pull in 50% of the same students and 50% different students. We really can't control what algorithm it pulls them up, but it will pull up 200 students. When it pulls up the students, you know it's going to have them in the second part of the screen with checks next to them. You can scroll through here and see which students you want to select, or you can just say OK, and it will bring them all into DegreeWorks. Your other option is you can unclick and then do OK, and it's only going to bring the ones with the check mark into your DegreeWorks search. Once it brings in all of the students, you will see that the names are up here, and if you use this drop down arrow, it's going to show you a list of all the names that it pulled up. It will also show you their banner ID, although I have for privacy issues not put their banner ID numbers up here. You can click down this down arrow and go to whichever student you want to, or you can see this little forward and back button. You can click on these two buttons and it will also bring you back and forth. Once you find the student you want to review, then you would just press enter, and then this is the rest of the screen that you're going to get. Right here you have the student that you want to see. Here is your options. You can, depending upon what your level is, you can see a couple of different views, but most right now we're using the student view. So when you have your student view, you would click view and process new. And then when you do that, it's going to bring up the audit. Notice this here is your audit legend. This gives you all your student information, which I have blacked out, but it gives you their student ID. It gives you their advisor if your college assigns advisors, their overall GPA, and the degree and program major that they are in. And then we have different blocks. It has your degree block. This is a student who is in a degree of AA in performing arts. And these are your progress bars. This first one is the retirements and credit. Notice even though this student has 0 credits, he has still met 13% of the requirements. That's because the requirements are not based on credit hours, and we'll be going over that in a few minutes. This is a closer look at the progress bar. Notice in this progress bar, notice it says this is a different student. Notice that it says the requirements are 84% met, but the credits are 95% met. It's because the requirements are not based on credit hours. The credit hours, if it's 60 credit hours and they meet 30 credit hours, then it's going to be 50%. That is it is a pure percentage. However, the requirements is not a simple percentage. Notice that the degree block, which is this right here where it says AAS degree, it's going to list the required credits. Notice this is 60 credits required, and on this degree audit they have applied 57. So 57 divided by 70 is going to be where we come up with the 90%. Now, after the degree block, which in the degree block, it simply states these things. And these are the things that actually come up with the program requirements. Notice it's saying you need the minimum total credits hours required. It's not checked because he doesn't meet that. Medical assistant requirements. This is a medical assistant. And down at the bottom you would see the medical assistant section, what they need. Depending upon how many checks there are is going to be how much the requirements are met for the degree. Now, This is the actual, what we would guess I call the heart of the degree audit. This is the program requirements, just the credit hours, the courses that are required. Now notice in this program there are things other than just the courses. Notice for this degree we have a minimum major credit hours required, and notice it's counting it down here. It says 28 credit hours are needed, and to complete your requirement major they have only met, the credits required are 31. They only met 28 out of 31. Now, this is going to just be part of the music program. Remember, we have different parts to this degree. It's going to also have gen eds and other things. So we'll go through the list of it. But this is just the music program part of it. Notice that it does have the minimum credit hours earned. This is for BIPSI. So whatever, and once you meet it, it disappears. So some colleges require 75%, some just require 15 hours, whatever the hours are. If this was not checked, it would tell you how many minimum hours were required, but since it's met, the requirements go away. Once you meet the 31 hours, it would just have it checked, and this still need would disappear. They needed a GPA requirement of 2.0, and it is met. Okay. These are the courses. Notice they need English 101, Music 110, and it tells you the name of the course, the grade, the credit hours, and when the student took the course. Notice that it's got all of these and it's only missing one. So this student still needs Music 120 or 121 to complete all of them in this music program section. And we've already gone over this. You have the hours required, the program GPA, the residential, and the last resident requirement. Those are some of the things that are on there. Different colleges have different things needed. This is another section. Notice this is a different program, and notice this is one of our stackable credentials. Notice in this credential there are 3 different stacks. Notice we have, first of all, a GPA requirement of 2.0, and notice that this is checked. So we have 3 sections. Completing section 1, 2, and 3 will fulfill the Associate of Applied Science in Paramedic. And it says the same thing here, and clinical courses. So we have 3 different courses. Notice it says that if you complete sections 1 and 3 only, you will get a certificate of technical studies in paramedic, which is why we have it separate. So if you wanted to get the whole degree, you need all 3 sections. However, if you did just section 1 and section 3, you would get a CTS in paramedics. Now, let's look at the difference in what's here. Notice that in anatomy and physiology, it's biology 230. Notice it says it's still needed. So we still need these first 2 classes. Now, here we have classes that have been met. The reason we know it's met is because it's checked off with a green checkbox. This course, it says English 101, Comp and Ret 1. But notice the Psych 201 is Introduction to Psychology. This requirement has been satisfied by Psych 102, General Psychology, from Louisiana Tech University, and they got an A. A TA in some of our colleges mean it's transferred in with a grade of A. regardless of if it's a TA or just an A, depending upon your college, it's always going to have what course we required and what course we used to fill the requirement. So these two courses we're taking at the college, but these three courses were transferred in. And notice that we still need Speech 110 or Speech 115. Notice Section 3. Okay, so if you'll notice, the yellow means it's satisfied. The peach color means that it's still needed. But let's look at the blue section. This is with an EN. EN means enrolled. Some colleges chose to put IP in progress, and some colleges chose to put R for registered. So you may have a different initial here, but it will be in blue. And you will have these, we call these tilde. You will have the one blue tilde here, which means it is in progress. So the student has 4 courses that are currently in progress for the spring of 2018. So let's look at the next slide. The next slide shows the courses that the student took that are not accepted on the degree audit. So the student in non-program course, which is CIT 101, Network Essentials, the student made a C. But this course was not required for the program that the student is in. So even though he made a passing grade on it, it's not using this degree audit. Now, if the student changed programs, then it could maybe count for that. But as of right now, he has one course that does not count for his program. Notice the insufficient. The insufficient means that the student has a failing grade. It could be just an F. It could be a D or an F, depending upon what you require for the program. And they also have W's for withdrawals. So, notice these are all insufficient. Some of them have it as fall through. Some have it as different names. It just depends upon what your college decided they wanted for the name. But either way, this section is classes that did not count because of the grade they made. Some colleges may have a fall through, and in those you may have things such as developmentals, because developmentals will never apply to your degree. So you may also have a section with your developmentals in it. So these are the basic parts of a degree audit and what it looks like. Now, what you're being asked to do is, before we let the students come into DegreeWorks, we want you to verify the accuracy of the audits for your program. So what we want you to do is we want you to review the student information is correct, whether it's a catalog term that the student's in, the degree, the major, the concentration, the things in your program that make your program special. You want to make sure that those are correct. The next thing we want you to do is we want you to review and verify the degree requirements. And make sure you verify that if we say that your program requires 60 hours, then that's how many hours your program requires. If we have specific degree requirements, such as you must take 15% of the courses in resident, that's there. If you have that you have to take a test before you can enter it, that must be there. So make sure your specific requirements for your degree is there. Check and verify that courses pulled into the audit are the correct courses and the grades are sufficient. So make sure everything that the student has counted as a good course and does apply to the audit, make sure that it should apply to the audit. We want you to check and verify that the transfer courses that pulled in are the correct transfer courses and that it is counted in the correct spot. The other thing we want you to check is we want you to look in that non-program, fall through, insufficient courses. We want to look at all the courses that we did not use in the degree audit to make sure they should not have been used. If you see a course, it should be a course replacement, a course substitution, then you need to notify the people in charge of your degree works and have them do a substitution. And then once you do the substitution, we'll apply it, and then it'll go towards the audit. So if you find a course in there that you think should have applied towards the audit, you need to let your degree works people know, so then they can show you how to do how to apply for an exception, and the process is going to go through there. The next thing we want you to do is to submit the course substitutions if at all necessary, and follow the college procedures if you find errors in the audits. The next thing we're going to go over, or the last thing we're going to go over, is the go live time frame. Your go live time frame is going to be, we are working from now until the middle of May to have everything come up into production. So we are currently working on cloning the training to production. On May 10th to June 1st, once the clone is finished, we're going to have the DegreeWorks implementation team at all the colleges verify that the clone was done correctly and that we don't have any things that's malfunctioning. On approximately June 1, give or take a week or so, we are going to open it up to the faculty and the advisors to review. I know a lot of you, and I know as a former instructor, I don't want the student looking at something that I have no idea what they're looking for, and I don't like questions from students that I can't answer. So we want you to look at the audits and see if you find anything wrong that needs to be corrected before we let the students in. Once your college is comfortable that all the degree audits are correct, they're precise, they're understandable by the students, then you will be able to open it to the students so the students can start looking at their degree audits. Again, we are going to let the college determine when the students come in. We are going to be doing some other trainings, probably on network trainings, where we can actually get in and do a few things. But this is just to get you started so you can start looking at DegreeWorks. Thank you and good luck.